Well, I was going to actually, that leads me to this, the question that's rolling around in my head because, whenever something comes out on the market, and I would imagine that a lot of pharmaceutical companies are already thinking along these lines. How do we um, commoditize this, and how do we control these type of medicines, and how do we profit from it and commercialize it in a way that usually doesn't benefit people, and how the way in which some companies have controlled insulin, it's despicable. So could you speak to a little bit about that, about the commercialization desires of some of the companies that have seen some of this and said, hey, we got to control this?
Yeah. So, first of all, I think psychedelic medicines are a giant piece to the puzzle of healing humanity.
Mm, really?
So, oh, yes,
Mm,
because of all the trauma
hmm
people suffered, I think they're so important.
I would just from a layman's perspective, that has crossed my mind because when you have something that's so powerful that can alter thought patterns so
Mhm.
quickly, it's really powerful. And there's incentive structures regarding the commercialization of a lot of things in our culture, particularly the media that we consume, the anxiousness that we feel. Hey, take this Xanax, it'll make you feel better
Mhm.
temporarily, and then you get hooked, and then you're hooked on it for life. Like most pharmaceutical companies, I would imagine they're not trying to make a cure. They're trying to sell you something. They want you to be a customer for life, and so that's the fundamental problem. We have a system of incentives that's oftentimes detrimental to our overall health and well-being, and you see it, and it's pervasive throughout our culture in a variety of ways. This is probably one of the most glaringly obvious ways in which we're all harmed to some degree by the pharmaceutical industry. And, I'm probably preaching to the choir that a lot of our healthcare system is rather upside down in terms of perverse incentives. But if you could talk a little bit about that, that would be great.
Yeah. And to take what you said one step further, take this
Please.
medicine and it's going to create 3 side effects. We have medicines to treat every one of those side effects.
Oh,
And
my
oh, they're
God.
going to create another one here. Here's a seventh or eighth
Oh,
medicine.
my God. Yes, totally.
So instead
Totally.
of treating the symptoms, the psychedelic medicines, in many cases, can help fix the root cause. And so that's what you were saying. Is this
Hmm.
really like a pharmaceutical model? So, in my opinion, and I share this with many, is that we definitely need a pharmaceutical model for really all of these medicines because the healing properties they have are just incredible. And I also believe that everyone should have the right to sit with these medicines in like, the native way they were intended.
So, I mean, if I may interject, so I get what you're saying, that we need a pharmaceutical model for all of these medicines, but I would argue that we need to fundamentally shift and transform what that model is, because the pharmaceutical model, like, get the incentive structure about profit at all costs out of the picture, because if we continue that, then they will fundamentally bastardize it, which is their forte. Let's like stranglehold these wonderful medicines, and then like give it in a way so that we can eke out as much profit and string it out, as opposed to give it the way it's
Yeah.
intended. And so we need to have laws in place and tamp down, because the pharmaceutical company, a pharmaceutical industry as a whole, especially the large ones, they have way too much control over Congress financially, and so they're strangleholding it. And if politicians get out of line, they've got like an army of lawyers and lobbyists to coming at them and putting pressure on them, and then they primary them, and so they don't get in office anymore. So I get what you're
Yeah.
saying, but we need to transform that model